In this worrying case, we have Tori T Smith, a woman from New Orleans, who had an unexpected stroke of luck. It all unfolded back in 2009 when Tori, just 31 years old, got arrested and accused of battery and aggravated assault against her boyfriend. She was taken to the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office for processing and was supposed to end up in a central lockup, but fate had other plans for her. Shortly after she arrived, something strange happened. An unidentified guard came into the jail and slowly closed the door. Oddly enough, he didn't lock it for some reason. Then he asked another jail worker to let him through. But once again, the person failed to lock the door. Tori, who was out of sight, saw this mistake and quickly seized her chance to escape. She cleverly asked to use the bathroom and simply walked out of the jail, passing through both open doors without anyone noticing. Without wasting a moment, she made a run for it. Tori managed to avoid capture for a few hours, but eventually, she was found, recaptured, and faced not only her original battery charge, but also an additional charge of escape. It's a truly concerning situation when something like this happens due to a simple oversight, even though she was caught again. In 2013, a man named Benjamin H Barbeau, who was 41 years old, did something worrying. He escaped from the St. Jerome Detention Center in Quebec, and he wasn't alone. He had a fellow inmate named Danny Proposal with him. It's not clear if they became friends while in prison or earlier, but they planned their escape together. On the day of their escape, some of their associates hijacked a helicopter near the prison. They forced the pilot to fly them there. When they reached the detention center, they lowered ropes for Barbeau and Provincial. They climbed those ropes and got away in about 6 minutes. It's really surprising because the guards didn't shoot at them or manage to catch them. Their accomplices then flew away with Barbeau and Provincial. But a few hours later, all of them were captured, and the kidnapped pilot was found unharmed. It's a troubling story about how some inmates can manage to escape, even in a highly secure prison, with the help of outsiders, even though they eventually get caught. In this gripping video, we get a glimpse of an astonishing escape story featuring a man known as El Chapo, a notorious criminal famous for his prison escapes. As we watch the footage, we witness some truly intriguing behavior inside his cell. At one point, he leans forward, seemingly focused on something on the shower floor. Then, suddenly, he sits down and starts removing his sandals. Incredibly, in the blink of an eye, he disappears. El Chapo's real name is Chapo Guzman, and he had come up with an incredibly clever plan to break free. He constructed a secret underground tunnel beneath the shower, carefully executing his escape. Unlike the quiet chipping away we saw in The Shawshank Redemption, El Chapo resorted to loud hammering. Astonishingly, the guards outside chose to ignore the noise. The footage captures his restless pacing as he waits for the perfect moment. When he finally emerges from the tunnel, we catch a glimpse of a smuggled mobile phone on his desk, which played a crucial role in his escape. To avoid raising suspicion, he cleverly turned up the volume of the TV by his bed, masking any unusual sounds. This tunnel was a true masterpiece, stretching a mile underground and reaching a nearby property, owned by El Chapo's wife. Some might call it luck, but the construction of this tunnel was a work of art, resembling the drug smuggling tunnels between the US and Mexico. It was well lit and well ventilated, even featuring a rail system. Remarkably, an adapted motorcycle transported the necessary digging tools. El Chapo managed to evade capture for 2 years until he was eventually recaptured. Today he resides in a notorious American prison, and his escape serves as a testament to his cunning and resourcefulness, making it a truly worrisome story. Imagine this. Sometimes when people are in a tough situation, they do things they wouldn't normally do to get out of it. Well, something alarming happened at the Turner Goyle Ford Night Correctional Center in Florida. Inmate Kenneth Williams found himself in a strange situation. His cell door suddenly opened, so he stepped out to see what was going on. But as he did, 2 other inmates sneaked in and cornered him in a nearby hallway. They seemed like they were up to no good, and Kenneth realized he was in danger. So he ran, trying to get away from them. But no matter where he turned, he was outnumbered and had nowhere to go. In a desperate move, he jumped over a railing and landed on the floor below. The attackers were shocked and didn't know what to do next. It's suspected that someone, maybe even a guard, helped these two attackers, as they seemed to know the doors would open at just the right time. The reason behind this attack is thought to be related to gangs because Kenneth is believed to be the leader of a gang called the Manelli Gang. He got hurt, his back and ankle were injured, but he survived the fall. Right now, there's an ongoing investigation to figure out why the prison doors opened like that, but it's uncertain if we'll ever know the full truth. This whole situation is concerning. In 2018, there were two guys named Shane Joseph and Willie Ames. They had a job to do at a jail in Houston County, Georgia, taking out the trash. But that day, something happened that changed their lives. While they were carrying the garbage outside the prison, a guard was keeping an eye on them to make sure they did their work. Surprisingly, this guard gave them a little freedom, maybe sensing they might try to escape, and they did. They saw their chance and ran as fast as they could, desperate to get away from prison. As they sprinted away, the guard called for backup, trying to catch them, but their plan didn't work out perfectly. A few days later, they found one of the guys, Driver, in an apartment nearby. The other, Chapo, was discovered hiding in a barn about 3 miles away. Both of them were eventually caught and sent back to prison. They had to spend even more time trying to escape. It's a worrying situation when prisoners try to run away, and it just shows how desperate some people can be to get their freedom back. The guards on duty are always worried because they're usually outnumbered by the inmates. Anytime something bad can happen, they can suddenly find themselves in a dangerous situation where they have to fight to stay safe while waiting for help. There's a video from Pinal County Jail that shows an officer. This officer goes into the indoor rec yard, and out of nowhere, 2 prisoners rush in and start beating him up for no apparent reason. Thankfully, another guard comes quickly and uses pepper spray to stop the attackers. He helps the first officer wrestle the 2 inmates to the ground, preventing any serious harm. In Cook County, Illinois, another officer had to use force to control an inmate who viciously attacked him. The officer managed to open a security door and reach other guards in the facility, who helped subdue the inmate. In Alabama, a mobile jail caught a horrifying moment when an inmate barged into a guard's office and attacked the officer. Inside, another officer struggled to open the door but eventually succeeded in aiding his co-worker. The inmate didn't give up easily and kept fighting until he was finally restrained. With the increasing number of inmate attacks on guards and a prison system where the rules inside don't match those of the inmates, there will likely be more clashes in the future, and that's a cause for real concern. It's worrying when external forces bring danger into prisons. In Ciudad Juarez, one of the most dangerous cities in the world, the Mexican drug war is still raging on. Many cartel members end up behind bars in the local jail. In July 2011, members of a cartel armed with automatic weapons managed to break into the jail. They shot 17 rival cartel members and then ran away. The resulting riot went on for almost a whole day before the authorities finally regained control of the prison. It's believed that these attackers were following the orders of El Chapo Guzman, who is Mexico's most infamous cartel leader. He's known for using violence against his rivals, as well as targeting employees, government officials, journalists, and anyone who stands in his way. He even ordered a massacre at a drug clinic that was trying to help people kick their drug habits. The video of Guzman's attack on the jail shows how chaotic and dangerous the drug war has become. Right now, Guzman is being held in a prison near Ciudad Juarez, waiting to be extradited to the United States on charges of drug trafficking and homicide. It's a troubling situation that shows how far-reaching and destructive this drug war has become. You know, there was this show called Beyond Scared Straight on A&E that ran from 2011 to 2015. It was meant to help troubled teenagers understand what life in prison was like so they'd stop their criminal ways. But there's one clip from the show that has made a lot of people worried and upset. There's this guy named Andreas, who said he was part of the Bloods gang. When he went to visit the prison, he met some guys from a rival gang called the Creps, and they were really angry at him. A prisoner even made him do push-ups, while a prison officer yelled confusing orders at him. At one point, they lifted Andreas outside a cell, and the prisoners inside shouted at him and tried to grab him. He was so scared that he started crying and taking back everything he said about being in the Bloods, even apologizing for it. Then, the prisoners made him peel an orange and threatened him if he didn't. By the end, Andreas was in tears, and it seemed like he got a taste of what prison life could be like. But this episode caused a big controversy about these prison tour programs. Some people said they were too harsh and inhumane. On the other hand, some supporters argued that no real harm was done to the kids, and they were just getting a small glimpse of prison life, not the full experience. It's a troubling situation, and it's made a lot of people worried and upset about these programs. There's a worrisome situation involving the Catholic Church that we need to talk about. You see, there's been a lot of controversy because some priests and bishops have been accused of sexually abusing people, and it's come out that the church tried to cover up these terrible acts. One of these priests was John Gagan, and his case is troubling. John Gagan was accused of sexually assaulting more than 130 boys in 6 different parishes around Boston. What's even worse is that investigators found strong evidence that high-ranking church officials actively moved him around to different parishes to avoid getting caught. In January 2002, he was found guilty of assaulting a 10-year-old boy. In 1991, he was sentenced to 9 years in the Souza Baranowski Correctional Center. But here's the truly horrifying part. While he was in protective custody, another inmate named Joseph Druce somehow got into Gagan's cell, rigged the door shut, and brutally murdered the former priest. It's heartbreaking to watch on CCTV as guards desperately tried to get into the cell to save Gagan, but by the time they got inside, it was too late. Gagan had been strangled and beaten severely. Druce later said he had been planning to kill Gagan for over a month because he saw him as a prize who was already serving a life sentence. Druce was tried and sentenced to another life sentence, and it's really disturbing because he showed no remorse for what he did. This whole story is deeply troubling, and it's had a big impact. It inspired a Canadian rock group called Billy Talent to write their hit song Devil in a Midnight Mass in 2006. It's a sad and worrying situation that reminds us of the terrible consequences of these actions and cover-ups. Being a prison guard is tough, you know. The guards often have a hard time because there are so many prisoners, and they sometimes need to rely on their equipment to keep things under control. But here's a story about Deputy Kenneth Moon in Florida, back in November 2009. That makes you worry about what they go through. While Deputy Moon was on duty, a prisoner suddenly attacked him from behind his desk, and it was brutal. The prisoner put him in a chokehold, making it hard for Deputy Moon to breathe. Things were looking really bad, and more prisoners started rushing to the scene. It seemed like Deputy Moon was in real trouble. Then, out of nowhere, the first prisoner who got there threw a strong punch at the attacker's face, and all 3 of them ended up on the floor. Other prisoners joined in and managed to pry the attacker's arms off Deputy Moon, while one of them called for help on the radio. Eventually, Deputy Moon was freed and helped back onto his feet, while the prisoners kept the attacker under control until help arrived. It's amazing because the whole thing was caught on camera, and everyone was shocked at how fast these prisoners stepped in to save Deputy Moon's life. When they were asked why they did it, they simply said Deputy Moon was a good guy. You see, Deputy Moon had a reputation for being respectful and treating the prisoners well, and in return, they respected him too. That's why these guys who were convicted of serious crimes didn't hesitate to jump in and help Deputy Moon when he needed it the most. It's a worrying situation, but it also shows the power of treating people with respect, even in a tough environment like a prison. In a city called Recife in Brazil, there was a worrying incident at an adult correctional facility. A group of inmates there decided they weren't going to be outdone by recent events. They were determined to make a massive breakout. One day, an unidentified man quickly placed a package near an outer wall, and it exploded, creating a huge hole. Seeing their chance, the waiting inmates rushed for freedom. What's concerning is that the prison guards had previously warned officials that something like this might happen because there weren't enough guards, and the guard towers weren't sufficient. Surveillance footage captured a flood of prisoners pouring out through the crumbling wall. Surprisingly, some prisoners changed their minds and went back inside while their fellow inmates ran in the opposite direction. Out of the 40 inmates who managed to escape, only one is still on the loose. 2 others were killed by the police, and the rest were caught again. It's a troubling situation when something like this happens, especially when it could have been prevented with better security. In the fall of 2008, there was a troubling incident involving a 15-year-old girl named Michaela Calhoun. She got arrested along with her friend when they were pulled over in a stolen car. During the intake process, Calhoun was said to be uncooperative and used bad language. The guards were getting frustrated with her. They took her to a cell and asked her to take off her shoes. Instead of cooperating fully, she crossed her arms and kind of kicked off her shoe. Suddenly, Deputy Paul Skeen did something awful. He lunged at her, kicked her, threw her against the wall, and then slammed her to the floor. Another officer had to step in to restrain Calhoun and eventually let her out of the cell. Calhoun and Skeen argued back and forth, with Calhoun saying that her shoe didn't hit any of the officers. Skeen claimed the shoe hit him hard, leaving a big bruise on his leg. But when surveillance footage was reviewed, it seemed to support Calhoun's side of the story. The video showed that the shoe didn't hit Skeen or the other officer with much force, and Calhoun didn't kick it away violently. Skeen was charged with 4th-degree assault and said he was not guilty in March 2009. Unfortunately for him, but fortunately for Calhoun, the tapes of the incident seemed to tell a different story than what he was saying. It's a worrying situation when someone in authority does something like this, especially to a teenager. In the village of Louisiana in the French department of Bush, there stands a historic prison. Over its 2 centuries of existence, this prison has witnessed many changes, but it remains a symbol of a harsh past. At one point, it was known for its advanced security technology. But all of that changed when a notorious criminal named Pascal Payet pulled off a daring escape. Pascal Payet, famous for his helicopter-assisted prison breaks, was born and raised in France. He eventually got involved in a life of crime, despite facing multiple convictions and managing to escape from prison before. His determination to break free never wavered. His escapes captured the public's attention and exposed the vulnerabilities of the prison's security. It's a concerning situation when a criminal repeatedly manages to outsmart the system like this. A worrying incident unfolded in a detention center in São Paulo, Brazil one morning. The guards were completely caught off guard when a highly organized riot suddenly broke out. The majority of the 103 inmates took control of the situation, holding 29 staff members hostage, including the director of the facility. Inside the detention center's yard, chaos reigned as mattresses were set on fire, adding to the turmoil. Strangely, riot police positioned themselves oddly, almost as if they all decided to take a coffee break at the same time. The whole scene was captured in amateur videos and even from a police helicopter, showing dozens of inmates scaling walls, descending trees, and sprinting across an open field with remarkable agility, like commandos. Surprisingly, 54 inmates, which is more than half of the prison population, managed to escape. But their newfound freedom didn't last long. News reports quickly revealed that 17 of the fugitives were recaptured promptly, leaving little doubt that the remaining escapees were also caught. It's a deeply concerning situation when a prison riot leads to such a mass escape, even if many of them are caught again. Being trapped in a fire is terrifying, and it's even worse when it happens in a prison. Fires in prisons are extremely dangerous because they can damage important equipment, leaving prisoners stuck in their cells to suffer from burns or smoke inhalation. In Kentucky, there's the North Point Medium Security Prison, which was built back in 1983 and houses around 1,256 inmates. But on the night of August 21st, 2009, things took a horrifying turn. Around 60 to 80 inmates started a riot throughout the prison, and a fire erupted as a result. This fire quickly engulfed 5 buildings within the facility. Before the riot, the prison had been on lockdown because a Hispanic gang had attacked another inmate. The frustration among the prisoners boiled over, and they started destroying the prison itself. People living nearby watched in fear as flames shot up into the sky, not knowing what had caused the fire. There were even some small explosions, which were believed to be from electrical equipment. The prison's emergency response team eventually managed to regain control of the prison, allowing firefighters to start putting out the flames. Thankfully, no one was seriously injured during the riot and fire, which is quite fortunate considering how extensive the damage was. Inmates had to be temporarily moved to other prisons while this one was repaired. It has since returned to full operation and was still running as of 2016. But the memory of that terrifying night still lingers. Sometimes luck can play a surprising role in escaping from prison, and that's exactly what happened to Michael Maldonado, a 25-year-old inmate in 2018. During a transfer, he saw an unexpected opportunity. As the police car stopped at the prison entrance and the officer stepped out, Maldonado saw his chance and took it. He made a run for it, trying to escape multiple times that day. Eventually, he succeeded. It took some time to open the garage door, which delayed the police officer's pursuit. Maldonado ran away, seeking refuge in the hills, but he was recaptured the very next day. This time, you can be sure the cops were much more vigilant. It's a concerning situation when an inmate manages to escape, even if only temporarily, due to a lucky break like this one.